What if your genes carried not only eye color, but also someone else's pain? Geneticist Adam Reeves uncovers within his DNA an archive of his ancestors' deaths and must decide whether he will become their prison or their voice. The Inherited Memory Protocol.
Rain struck the glass so steadily that the entire laboratory seemed hidden inside an aquarium. The ventilation ducts rumbled dully, rhythmically, like the breath of an enormous machine. Inside it was warm, but the glow of the monitor burned his eyes. Adam Reeves sat at the terminal, launching a new pipeline to analyze his own genome. He had long meant to examine the strange region that resisted decoding by standard methods. Now he had the full arsenal: bisulfite-seq to track methylation, ATAC-seq to assess chromatin accessibility, and CRISPR barcodes embedded into induced neuronal cells. Over it all, he layered an experimental model that mapped the results against a database of sensor motor patterns, translating dry markers into visual reconstructions. The first output looked like a malfunction. Oscillographs flared across the screen, but instead of abstract noise, an image appeared. A forest. Cold. The whistle of a shell. A flash. Adam gripped the armrests. He was seeing through the eyes of a man who had died decades earlier. This was no dream. The genome had surfaced an imprint, an engram linked to epigenetic memory of trauma, the same mechanism observed in lab animals, whose offspring recoiled from the scent that had terrified their parents. But here, the recollection was too detailed. He removed his glasses, staring at the repeating frame. His heartbeat was uneven, driven not by fear, but by realization. His cells contained not only genetic code, but an archive of experience. The screen flickered. In the corner of the interface, a log line appeared. External access request denied. Someone outside was watching his experiments at the exact moment he opened the anomaly. Adam froze. If someone outside was watching his experiments, the secret was not his alone. The ducts roared beyond the window. Inside, the air smelled of dust and coffee. He looked again at the oscillographs, where the shadow of another's death replayed in a loop. He understood this was the beginning, not only of a discovery, but of something larger, already attracting the attention of others.
Morning found Adam still in the lab, the air dry from constant filtration. He had spent the night decoding the sequence, yet his mind kept circling back to the forest and the flash. To keep from losing himself in solitary analysis, he wrote to Liz. They had known each other since university. She had become a physician researcher in a neuropsychiatric clinic. Unlike Adam, Liz stayed close to practical cases and distrusted any hypothesis that looked too elegant. That was why he trusted her reaction. "You look like you haven't slept in 3 days," she said when he arrived. Her voice was weary but steady. "I hope your experiment was worth it." He told her about the visualization, the death engram of his great-grandfather. Liz did not interrupt, only tapped her pen against her notebook, then remarked, "You realize what you're describing? This isn't science. It's hallucination. Stress, insomnia, overload. Test it, yes, but don't believe it immediately." Her words worked like cold water. Something inside him resisted, but her skepticism kept him from drowning in the flood of alien images. Later, sorting through his late mother's house, he found a wooden box. Inside were yellowed letters and a locket engraved with a date. When Adam opened it, memory burst forth by itself. The same church fire he had seen in the night, with the same locket resting on the chest of a woman. The artifact became proof that the genome's visions aligned with material traces of the past. Back in the lab, a new message waited in his inbox. Subject: Axiom Institute, invitation to collaborate. Polite lines of interest in his research looked official, but a hidden insistence pulsed beneath. He reread it several times. No one but Liz knew of his analysis, and yet someone was already watching. He closed the laptop and held his breath. His body felt heavy, as if his muscles had absorbed others' experiences. Not a metaphor, an exhaustion as though he had lived dozens of lives. And now, foreign hands were reaching for that archive.
The university archive basement smelled of dust and ozone from aging servers. Adam spent nearly the whole day there, flipping through folders labeled classified. Amid the yellowed reports, he found what he sought: documents of Project 47LM, Living Memory. The text was clinical, stripped of detail, but cruelly clear. Directors: Dr. Henry Sloan, Professor Yale Hartman. Goal: create carriers of a living archive of human experience. Method: implant epigenetic markers into the genome to record stress events, wars, disease, disasters. These markers were inherited as methylation patterns and passed down with ordinary genes. Attached were notes on side effects: progressive identity dissolution. Subjects reported sudden flashes of alien memories, loss of temporal orientation, fragmentation of self. Several ended in apathy or suicide. Adam leaned back. Everything matched his own condition, but in the participant list, one name stopped him: Daniel Wells, Liz's grandfather. He read it 3 times, sure he was not mistaken. Their ties to the project ran deeper than he had guessed. When he returned to the lab, a new email awaited, this time personal. Signature: Dr. Miriam Cade, Axiom Institute. The tone was polite, almost friendly. Your data is of significant interest. We are prepared to offer collaboration. NDA attached. Should you decline, the university may reconsider your grant funding. Cold spread down his spine. The phrasing wore a mask of courtesy, but beneath lay ultimatum. He reread the reports. Nowhere did they state that participants knew what they had entered. And now Axiom wanted to continue the experiment through him. On his desk lay the page with Liz's grandfather's name. Telling her would shatter her world. Concealing it would repeat the scientist's betrayal. He shut the folder. The archive was growing, and so was its price. Adam chose risk. He uploaded a short preprint, just a summary. Inherited epigenetic patterns of trauma can be reconstructed as probabilistic sensory-motor traces. His way of claiming the finding before it was seized. The reply was swift. Next day, his inbox held a letter from Axiom's legal office. The language was frigid. The paper violated potential patents. Immediate retraction required. At the end, warning that the institute would petition the university to revoke his lab access. Tension turned physical. That evening, at Liz's, when she tried to question him calmly, his voice broke. He ranted that the archive is a prison, then suddenly spoke in another's words, with an old accent. We already paid in blood. Will you betray us too? Liz blanched. She fetched a penlight, asked him to follow the beam, then ran depersonalization tests. You realize that wasn't you speaking, she said, trembling yet professional. These are symptoms of fragmentation. He looked away. Inside, his thoughts collapsed, his own mixing with others. To stay afloat, he created a memory hygiene. He bought a new notebook and each morning wrote 3 things that belonged only to him. The smell of coffee, the childhood scar on his elbow, Liz's name. Breathing exercises, timed analysis sessions to avoid overload. Still, the foreign voices found cracks. Days later came word from the university. Axiom had formally requested seizure of his servers for independent review. An administrator whispered that the decision was nearly signed. Adam sat in the darkened lab, hands on the keyboard. His anchor notebook lay nearby, but his fingers trembled. The archive pulled him inward while a threat from outside closed in. He understood. The next defense would cost not only memory, but his right to research at all. Adam decided he could wait no longer. The archive was swelling, and with it, the danger. He drafted a new protocol, not mere separation of memory, but erasure of the heaviest cluster. Inside, it pulsed a death by fire, thick with the smell of burning cloth and a child's scream. If he deleted that block, perhaps the rest could hold. He connected the interface, configuring pattern separation in the hippocampus. The algorithm distinguished personal from inherited memories, then initiated controlled exposure with biofeedback. Sensors tracked his pulse, breath variability. The program slowly unwound the images. Flash, flame, cry. He fixed his eyes on the graphs, breathing evenly. At the erase command, he hesitated, then pressed. For a moment, relief, emptiness instead of fire. But the cost was immediate. His mother's face was gone. Only fragments remained, the smell of her scarf, her laughter in the kitchen. Her features were erased. Tears blurred his vision. He halted the protocol. Erasure was no solution. It took his own along with the foreign. Only one path remained: segmentation, discernment, to be witness, not victim. At that instant, the lab door burst open. 2 lawyers and a technician entered without knocking. By university order, equipment is confiscated, the elder said. Liz intercepted them at the threshold. The patient is at medical risk. Any interference may worsen the crisis. You will bear responsibility. They hesitated. The delay was enough for Adam to upload data to a secure server. Then the archive revealed another layer. Not pain, but skills. A medic, ancestor binding wounds with steady hands. A sailor charting stars. An engineer assembling under pressure. These were not only deaths, but knowledge. Adam closed his eyes. The archive was ceasing to be a curse. It was beginning to teach. After the failed erasure, Adam changed tactics. He learned to live with the archive, not fight it. When another crash nearly destroyed his pipeline, the memory of his engineer ancestor awoke. Neat diagrams, the knack of stabilizing a system on the fly. His hands moved faster than thought. The pipeline leveled out. In Liz's clinic, another trial came. A patient in severe panic attack gasped for air. Doctors readied sedatives. Adam felt a strange recognition. The orderly ancestor whispered a rhythm of breath, a grounding technique, calm instructions. Within minutes, the patient stabilized. Liz looked at him for the first time not as an experimenter, but as one who could sustain life. That evening, Adam resolved, the best defense against Axiom was openness. He released the basic method of memory segmentation publicly, keeping only the most dangerous details closed. The Institute lost exclusivity. Liz supported the choice, co-signing the paper. Their alliance deepened not through words, but through shared labor. Next morning, he was summoned to the university conference hall. There he first met Dr. Miriam Cade. tall, composed, in a severe suit. She smiled, but her eyes stayed cold. "You have taken a step that cannot be reversed," she said evenly. "The archive now belongs to science. But understand, Axiom will not abandon this project." "Knowledge belongs to all," Adam answered. "I will not let it become a weapon." Cade inclined her head. "Are you sure you can stop something greater than yourself? We know of other lines. You are not alone, Mr. Reeves." Silence thickened. Adam felt weight shift in his chest, not fear this time, but the presence of his ancestral chorus. He realized the confrontation was only beginning. The clinic was quiet as usual, empty corridors, duty lamps casting a cold, steady glow. Adam came to Liz in the evening to help finalize data for their article. But soon noise rose in the waiting room. An elderly man awaiting consultation slumped, choking. Liz rushed, but Adam was already moving. The memory of his medic forebear surged. He checked the airway, tilted the head, pressed his palm to the chest, counted rhythm. His hands shook. He was no doctor, yet the motions came from deeper than knowledge. Liz joined, stabilizing pulse, preparing drugs. Until the ambulance arrived, they kept the man alive. When it was over, Liz said quietly, "You did it as if you'd known all along." Adam only nodded. Inside, there was no triumph, only calm. The archive had become part of him, not an enemy. Late that night, he sat alone in the lab. In his notebook, he wrote one short line: "I am the continuation of their choice." No comments, no flourish. The door opened without sound. In the frame stood Dr. Miriam Cade, immaculate suit, gaze without fatigue. She entered as if it were her office. "You have taken the step we awaited," she said flatly. "The archive works not only in your line. Ahead lies not research, but a new era." Adam did not answer. He only gripped the notebook, his anchor. Cade smiled without warmth. "We will meet again." She left as quietly as she had come. Adam remained in silence. Rain blurred the city lights outside. He knew the external threat now had a face, but inside there was no fear, only knowledge that he was not alone. Behind him stood generations whose legacy had become his gift.